You're fired! Pack your things and get out of here now! An incompetent person like you isn't fit to work here!
Sometimes the worst day of our lives can turn into the beginning of something extraordinary. Sarah never imagined that her first day of work would end with her being humiliated in front of a crowded diner, hot coffee dripping down her uniform, and tears of despair wetting her face. But what she also didn't know was that a quiet man sitting in the corner of that diner was watching everything, and that this encounter would completely change the course of her life. A story about second chances, unwavering faith, and how God can transform our greatest pain into our greatest blessing. Stay with me until the end, because this story will truly move you. So subscribe to the channel, leave your like and comment on where you're watching from. And let's get to the story. It was a cold Tuesday morning in Portland, Oregon. Rain lashed against the windows of the Sunrise Diner, a traditional downtown diner that was always packed at breakfast time. The smell of fried bacon and fresh coffee filled the air, while the clatter of conversations and cutlery mingled with the sound of the rain outside. David Mitchell, a 52-year-old man with neatly cut gray hair and kind brown eyes, sat alone at a corner table. He wore a discreet gray coat and slowly sipped his coffee, observing the activity in the place. David was a successful businessman, owner of a restaurant chain in the area, but nobody there knew that. He seemed just another ordinary customer on that rainy morning. What no one suspected was that David had just bought that diner that very morning. The papers were still fresh, signed less than 2 hours earlier in his lawyer's office. He was there precisely for that reason, to observe, to get to know his new employees, to see how things really worked when the owner wasn't around, and that's when it all happened. Sarah Thompson, a 34-year-old woman with brown hair tied in a loose ponytail and blue eyes that held a deep sadness, was nervous. It was her first day of work. Her very first day. She had woken up early, prayed that everything would go well, left her 6-year-old daughter Emily at her neighbor's house, and come to the diner with a heart full of hope and anxiety. Sarah needed that job. It wasn't a matter of wanting it. It was a matter of surviving. It had been 4 months since her husband Jason had died in a terrible car accident on Interstate 84. 4 months since her life had been turned upside down. 4 months trying to be strong for Emily, trying to hold back the tears, trying to believe that God had a plan, even when everything seemed too dark to see any light. The insurance money had barely covered the funeral and some debts. Sarah and Emily were living off church assistance and donations from kind-hearted brothers and sisters in Christ. But Sarah didn't want to depend on charity forever. She wanted to work. She wanted dignity. She wanted to provide for her daughter. That's why that job meant everything to me. "Table 8! Order for table 8!" shouted Kevin, the cook, out the kitchen window. Sarah took a deep breath and picked up the tray. Pancakes, scrambled eggs, bacon, toast. She checked everything twice and took it to the table. A man in a suit, talking loudly on his cell phone, barely glanced at her as Sarah placed the plate in front of him. "Here you go, sir. Enjoy your meal," she said with a nervous smile. The man hung up the phone and looked at the plate. Then his face changed completely. Hey, girl. This isn't what I ordered." Sarah felt her stomach churn. "Excuse me, sir, what would that be? I ordered fried eggs. Fried, not this scrambled egg mess. And where's my coffee? I ordered black coffee 10 minutes ago. I'm sorry, sir, I'll correct it now. Where's the manager?" "Manager!" That's when Jason Bradley showed up. The diner manager, a man in his 40s, short, pot-bellied, with a thin mustache and a permanently irritated expression on his face. He used his power as manager as if he owned the world. And he treated the employees like they were garbage. "What's the problem here?" Jason asked in that deep, arrogant voice he loved to use. "That incompetent waitress got my order wrong. I ordered fried eggs and she brought scrambled eggs." Jason didn't even look at the customer. He turned straight to Sarah and his eyes were filled with rage. "You again? It's your first day and you're already messing things up? Mr. Bradley, I may have misinterpreted the request, but I can correct it right now." "Correct? Correct?" His voice rose and the entire diner fell silent. All conversations stopped. All eyes turned to them. "Do you think this is a little school? That you can make mistakes and fix them later?" Sarah felt tears beginning to burn her eyes, but she tried to hold them back. "Please, Mr. Bradley, I need this job. It was just a mistake, I promise that." "A mistake? A mistake is when you forget to put sugar in your coffee. You can't even write down an order properly. How do you think you can work here?" David, sitting in his corner, had stopped drinking his coffee. His fingers gripped the cup tightly. He watched everything, and something inside him began to boil. "Please." Sarah's voice was trembling now. "I have a young daughter at home. I need this job. I promise I'll improve." "Daughter? Having a daughter is not my problem. You should have thought about that before being so incompetent." That's when Jason Bradley did something unforgivable. He grabbed the cup of coffee from Sarah's tray and deliberately poured it over her. The hot coffee stained her white uniform, ran down her apron and dripped onto the floor. Sarah froze, paralyzed with shock. Tears now streamed freely down her face. The entire diner was in absolute silence. It was the kind of awkward, painful silence where everyone knows they're witnessing something terrible happen, but no one does anything. "You're fired," Jason shouted, a cruel grin on his lips. "Grab your things and get out of here now. An incompetent like you doesn't belong here, and don't even think about coming back. I never want to see your face in this diner again." Sarah couldn't speak. She just took off her apron with trembling hands, dropped it on the floor, and ran for the door. Tears streamed down her face. She didn't even care that it was raining heavily outside. She just wanted to get out of there, to vanish, to disappear. She ran down the wet street until she found a narrow alley between two buildings. There, out of sight, Sarah leaned against the cold brick wall and collapsed. She cried like she hadn't cried since Jason's funeral. She cried from pain, from humiliation, from despair. "God, why?" she whispered between sobs, the rain soaking her hair, mingling with her tears. I tried so hard. What am I going to do now? How am I going to feed my daughter?" Sarah was so lost in her grief that she didn't even notice when someone entered the alley. "Hey, miss, is everything all right?" She looked up and saw David Mitchell standing there, holding a black umbrella. His kind eyes were full of genuine concern. Sarah couldn't form sentences. She just cried. David said nothing more. He simply took off his gray wool coat and placed it over her shoulders. "It's very cold out here," he said in that calm, quiet voice. "You're going to get sick." The coat was warm and smelled of a soft, comforting cologne. Sarah pulled the coat closer to her body, shivering not only from the cold but from everything that had just happened. "Thank you," she murmured, wiping her face with her hands. David stood there in silence, giving her the time she needed. The rain continued to fall heavily, beating against the asphalt and the rooftops, creating that melancholy symphony that rain always creates. After a few minutes, when Sarah was able to breathe more calmly, David asked gently, "What happened in there? Why did that man treat you that way?" Sarah let out a bitter, sad laugh. "I messed up an order. That's all. I messed up an order on my first day of work." "Your first day?" "It's my first day." Sarah looked at the wet floor. "I needed this job so badly. I have a young daughter at home, Emily. She's 6 years old, and my husband died 4 months ago. Car accident." David felt his heart clench. He knew that pain all too well. "I'm sorry," he said, and his words carried real weight. "I'm a Christian, you know." Sarah continued, the words coming out as if she needed to speak, as if holding it all in would hurt even more. "I go to church every week. I pray every day. I teach my daughter about Jesus, about faith, about trusting God even when things are difficult. But sometimes," she swallowed hard, "sometimes it's so hard to believe that God is in control when everything is falling apart." David was silent for a moment. Then in a soft voice he said, "I understand you, more than you can imagine." Sarah looked at him confused. "I lost my wife." 2 years ago, David said, and for the first time his eyes welled with restrained tears. "Cancer, it was quick, cruel. One day she was here, laughing with me at breakfast, and 6 months later, she was gone. I'm so sorry. I'm a Christian too," David continued. "I go to church. I read the Bible, I pray. And yet there are days when I wake up and her absence hurts so much I can barely breathe. There are days when I question God, when I ask why He allowed this to happen." He paused. "But you know what I've learned in these 2 years?" Sarah shook her head, waiting. "I learned that God doesn't promise us a life without pain. He promises that He will be with us in our pain. And I learned that sometimes He puts people in our path exactly when we need them most."
Angels disguised as strangers. Sarah felt something stirring inside her chest.
A small spark of hope where before there had only been darkness. "I'm living off donations from the church," she confessed, the shame evident in her voice. "The sisters bring food. The pastor helps with the bills. I didn't want to depend on anyone, you know. I just wanted to work, to have my dignity back, to be able to look at my daughter and say, 'Mommy is taking care of you.'" David looked at the broken woman before him and saw something that deeply moved him. He saw courage. He saw faith even when all seemed lost. He saw a mother fighting with all her might for her daughter. And he saw something more. He saw the hand of God in that encounter. "Come with me," David said suddenly, extending his hand. "What?" "Come back with me to the diner." Sarah's eyes widened in terror. "No, I can't. You saw what happened. That man said he never wanted to see me there again." "Trust me," David said. And there was something in his eyes, a quiet certainty that made Sarah hesitate. "Just come with me. I promise everything will be all right." Sarah didn't know why, but something about that stranger made her trust him. Maybe it was the gentle way he spoke. Maybe it was the warm coat over his shoulders. Or maybe it was something deeper, something spiritual, as if God were whispering in her heart. "Go. Trust." She took his hand and stood up. The two walked back to the diner under David's umbrella. The rain was still falling heavily, but Sarah no longer felt so cold. Her heart was racing with fear and hope mixed in equal parts. When they walked through the door of the Sunrise Diner, the diner was still packed, and Jason Bradley was there, standing behind the counter, laughing at some joke with the cook. When he saw Sarah come back in, his face turned red with anger. "You, what are you doing here? I told you never to come back." He started walking towards her, his finger pointed accusingly. "Are you deaf or stupid? I told you you're fired, I know." "I heard," David interrupted, stepping forward and standing between Jason and Sarah. Jason stopped, confused, staring at the man in the gray coat whom he hadn't even properly noticed before. "And who the hell are you? Her boyfriend?" "Look, buddy, that's none of your business. That woman doesn't work here anymore, and—" "My name is David Mitchell," David said in that calm but firm voice. "And actually, this is my problem, because I just bought this diner this morning." The silence that fell over the Sunrise Diner was absolute. Everyone stopped. Forks seemed to hang in midair. Cups hung precariously halfway to the mouth. Even the music on the old radio by the bar seemed to have faded. Jason Bradley turned pale. What? "You heard me. I'm the new owner of this diner. The papers were signed at 7 in the morning. And I came here precisely to see how my employees behaved when they thought no one was watching." David walked closer to Jason, who now seemed to be shrinking. "And you know what I saw? I saw a manager humiliating a female employee on her first day of work. I saw you deliberately spill hot coffee on her. I saw you yell at her in front of everyone, destroy her dignity, make her cry, all because she made a mistake. A small mistake, on her first day. Mr. Mitchell, I didn't know. If I had known you were the owner, I would never—" "Exactly," David interrupted. "If you'd known I was the owner, you would have acted differently. But that's the problem, Jason. The problem isn't what you do when the boss is watching. The problem is what you do when you think nobody's watching." Jason tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come out. "I'm a Christian, Jason," David continued, "and one of the things the Bible teaches very clearly is about how we treat people, especially people who are vulnerable, especially people who need mercy." He paused. In Matthew chapter 25, Jesus says, "Whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." Do you understand what that means? Jason was sweating now. It means that when you humiliated that woman, when you spilled coffee on her, when you fired her without mercy, you were doing that to Jesus. You were treating Christ himself that way. David turned and looked at Sarah, who was standing there in shock, tears welling up in her eyes again, but this time they were different tears. "I saw courage in that woman," said David, now speaking to the entire diner. "She lost her husband a few months ago. She's raising a young daughter alone. She's fighting, clinging to her faith even when everything is falling apart. And she came to work today even though she's scared, even though she's insecure, because she wants to provide for her family with dignity." He looked back at Jason. "You, on the other hand, showed cowardice. You showed cruelty. And you showed that you don't have the character necessary to lead anyone." Jason was trembling now. "Please, Mr. Mitchell, I need this job. I have bills to pay. Like her," David said calmly. "You have bills to pay just like her. But the difference is that she would beg you for mercy. And you gave her none." David took a deep breath. "You're fired, Jason. Pack your things and leave." But sir, now." Jason Bradley, his face red with humiliation and anger, grabbed his things from behind the counter and stormed out the door, slamming it shut. And just as Sarah had left crying minutes before, now it was he who was leaving in shame. David turned to Sarah, who was crying silently, her hands covering her mouth. "Sarah," he said softly. She looked at him through her tears. "You said you needed this job, so it's yours." "But not as a waitress," David smiled. "You're going to be the new manager of this diner." Sarah almost fainted. She had to hold on to the counter. "What? Sir, I don't even know. I've never managed anything in my life." "I know, and I'm going to teach you. I'm going to train you. I'll be here with you until you feel confident. But I saw something in you that I didn't see in Jason in all the minutes I watched him." David placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "I saw heart. I saw humanity. And those things can't be taught. You either have them or you don't. The rest you learn." Sarah couldn't stop crying, but now they were tears of gratitude, of relief, of something she barely dared call hope. I don't know what to say." "You don't need to say anything," David said. "Just accept it." "I accept," Sarah whispered. "Yes, I accept. Thank you. Thank you so much." And that's how it began. In the following days, David showed up at the diner every day. He taught Sarah everything: how to manage inventory, how to order supplies, how to train new employees, how to deal with difficult customers, how to make spreadsheets, control the cash register, solve problems. But more than that, he taught by example. David treated everyone with respect: the waiters, the cook, the cleaning staff. He remembered everyone's names. He asked about their families. He listened to their stories. Sarah observed everything and learned. Not just about management, but about humanity, about true leadership. "You know, Sarah," David said one day as the two had coffee after closing time, "my wife Jennifer used to say something I've never forgotten. She'd say, 'People won't remember how much you knew. They'll remember how you made them feel.'" Sarah smiled, that shy but genuine smile that was slowly returning. His wife seemed like an amazing person. She was. David looked at his cup, lost in memories. She was the best person I ever knew. She laughed at everything. She found beauty in the simplest things. And she loved God with an intensity that made me want to be a better man. "How did you two meet?" "In church, can you believe it?" David laughed. "I was 25, she was 23. I saw her singing in the choir and thought, that's her. She's the one I'm going to spend the rest of my life with." And that's what happened. 25 years of marriage, 25 of the happiest years of my life. Sarah saw the pain in his eyes, but she also saw something more. She saw gratitude. She saw peace. "Do you miss her every day?" "Every second," David admitted. "But you know what keeps me going? Knowing that she wouldn't want me to stop living. Jennifer was like that. She would want me to keep going, to help people, to make a difference, to open my heart again when the time was right." He looked at Sarah, and something passed between them. A connection, a mutual understanding between two people who knew the pain of loss, but who still believed in new beginnings. The weeks went by. Sarah was a natural manager. She treated the employees with kindness but firmness. The diner began to change. The atmosphere became lighter, more welcoming. The customers noticed the difference. David and Sarah started talking more, not just about work, but about life, about faith, about their fears, their hopes, their dreams. One evening after a particularly busy day, David said, "Sarah, I want to invite you to something." "What would it be?" "There's an event at my church on Saturday, a special worship service. I was going to go alone, but I'd love it if you came with me, if you'd like, of course." Sarah felt her heart race. She didn't quite know what that meant, but she knew she wanted to go. "I'd love to, but can I bring Emily, my daughter?" "Of course, I was hoping you would bring her. I want to meet her." That Saturday arrived, and Sarah was more nervous than she had been in a long time. She carefully got ready, dressed Emily in her favorite blue dress, and waited for David to arrive. When he appeared at the door, wearing a simple dress shirt and a warm smile, Emily hid shyly behind her mother's legs. "Hi, Emily," said David, crouching down to be at her level. "Your name is beautiful. Did you know it means hard worker? Your mom told me you help a lot around the house." Emily peeked from behind Sarah's leg and gave a shy little smile. "I have something for you," said David. pulling a small teddy bear from his pocket, holding a red heart that read, "Jesus loves you." Emily's eyes lit up. She picked up the teddy bear carefully as if it were the most precious thing in the world. "Thank you, Mr. David. You can just call me David, okay?" And so, the three of them went to church together. The service was beautiful. Sarah felt God's presence in a way she hadn't felt in months. She cried during the worship, but they were good tears. Tears of healing. And when she looked to the side and saw David with his eyes closed, worshiping, with Emily sitting on his lap because she had gotten tired, Sarah felt something stir within her chest. Was it possible? Would it be possible to love again after so much pain? After the service, they went for ice cream. Emily was excited, telling stories from school, laughing at David's bad jokes, and Sarah watched everything with a smile on her face and tears of gratitude in her eyes. "Mom, I like David," Emily said later when they were already home getting ready for bed. "Really, my love?" "Yes. He's kind, and he's funny, and he has happy eyes, even when he's sad." Sarah kissed her daughter's forehead. Happy eyes even when she's sad. What a beautiful description. "Do you like him too, Mom?" Sarah thought for a moment. Then, honestly, she replied, "Yes, I like him too." The months went by. David and Sarah became close in a way that surprised them both. They attended each other's churches. They went out to dinner. They took Emily to the park. They talked for hours about everything and nothing at the same time. And then, 7 months after that rainy morning at the diner, David invited Sarah to a special dinner at a restaurant by the river. Sarah knew something different was happening. She could feel it. They ate dinner, chatting and laughing, but there was a pleasant tension in the air, an anticipation. When dinner was over, David took Sarah's hand across the table. "Sarah, I need to tell you something." "I'm listening." "When Jennifer died, I thought I had died with her. I thought I would never be able to feel joy again, that I would never be able to open my heart again. But then God put you in my path that rainy morning, and everything changed." Tears began to well up in Sarah's eyes. "You made me want to live again. You made me want to wake up in the morning. You made me believe that God still had good plans for me." David took a deep breath. "And I fell in love with you. Deeply. Completely. And I fell in love with Emily too. I love you both." Sarah was crying now, but smiling at the same time. "Sarah Thompson, would you like to go out with me?" "Yes," she said without hesitation. "Yes, David. Yes." They laughed and cried together, and David stood up and kissed her gently, sealing that moment. The following year was the happiest of Sarah's life since Jason had died. David was an amazing boyfriend. He was patient, kind, funny, and loved Emily as if she were his own daughter. They went to church together every Sunday. They had picnics. They played board games. They laughed a lot. And slowly those old wounds began to heal. They didn't disappear. The scars were still there, but they didn't hurt the same way anymore. And then, one summer night, under a sky full of stars, David knelt before Sarah. "Sarah, I want to spend the rest of my life making you and Emily happy. I want to build a family with you. I want to wake up next to you every day and thank God for putting you in my life." He opened a small box containing a simple but beautiful ring. "Will you marry me?" "Yes." Sarah fell to her knees with him, laughing and crying at the same time. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." The wedding was simple but beautiful, in the same church where they first met. Emily was the flower girl, radiant in her little white dress. And when the pastor said, "You are now husband and wife," the whole church applauded and cried together. David and Sarah built a beautiful life together. A year after their wedding, they had a son, Daniel. Emily loved being a big sister. Saubru Diner thrived and became a beloved meeting place in the community, known not only for its food but for the love and care with which everyone was treated. But the greatest victory wasn't professional or financial. The greatest victory was seeing two people broken by loss find healing in each other. It was seeing their faith rewarded. It was seeing that God was truly in control, Even when everything seemed too dark to see, Sarah would sometimes return to that rainy morning, to the moment when everything seemed lost, to the alley where she cried, thinking her life was over. And then she would look at David, at Emily, at Daniel, at the life they had built, and whisper a prayer of gratitude, because God had taken the worst day of her life and transformed it into the beginning of something beautiful. He had taken the ashes and created beauty. He had taken the pain and brought healing. And in the end, Sarah learned the most important lesson of all, that God never wastes our pain. He transforms it. And sometimes He puts angels disguised as strangers in our path exactly when we need them most. And these angels sometimes arrive on rainy mornings, offering warm coats and second chances. You know, this story makes me think about how many times we give up too quickly, how many times we think the end has come, when in reality it's just the beginning of something new. Sarah cried in that alley thinking she had lost everything, but God was already preparing something much greater than she could imagine. Sometimes, what seems to be our greatest defeat is just God closing one door to open a gate. And the most beautiful thing? It's seeing that kindness transforms lives. David could have stayed quiet drinking his coffee, but he chose to act. He chose to extend his hand. And that choice changed 2 lives forever. If this story touched you in any way, leave a like here, comment what you thought, and subscribe to the channel to continue listening to stories that will make you reflect on faith, love, and second chances. See you in the next video.